Okay.
That represents pharmacists that have worked in the compounding world, and hear a little bit about each one on how they got involved, and from sort of a past, present, and future of what they're currently doing. And we can hear what they have to say. So I thought, Cindy, if it's okay with you, can we start off with you, because you're more familiar with what we did.
Sure. So, Cindy Theriault. I have been in pharmacy for many years, too many that I don't want to talk about, but I basically started my career in hospice and home care, more in a sterile setting back a few years ago. From there, I ended up going into a long-term care setting and managed a long-term care setting for many years, set up multiple clean rooms from all moving from different sites. So I have a really strong background in sterile compounding. However, I started my business in non-sterile initially, just to kind of get my, my feet in the water. And basically I've set it up so that I'm able, if I decide to start sterile compounding, I can flip my clean room over pretty quickly. So everything that I've done, I've just basically set up the pharmacy, designed the pharmacy, actually designed the building that I'm actually in, and purchased property, got everything set up, opened my doors in February of 2020. So 3 weeks later, everything shut down. So things have been a little challenging with, getting marketing going and, trying to get my name out there. My pharmacy is in York, Maine on Route 1. I have basically, it's a decent location. There's Portsmouth, where there's a lot of natural paths and everything, 15 minutes from the pharmacy. I've been able to reach out with a lot of them. Also at York Hospital, I've had some great success with the OBGYNs over there. And, a couple of other, the gastroenterologists. And basically I've been building, my clientele of providers, basically with no marketing. Things have really taken off in the past couple of months. Now that I've been able to get out there a little bit more, the veterinarians in the area have been really open to using us. The community has been great. They've also have come in, asked questions, asking their providers, if they'll, order a compound for them. The providers end up calling, or I'll reach out to the providers. So I've been able to grow my practice that way versus, traditional. Even now, it's still hard getting into the physician offices because everything is still, they really don't want to see you in there. But things are opening up a little bit more. But I'm definitely moving in the right direction. Still here almost 3 years later. So at a point where, starting to make some money. So that's always, a bonus, especially for, 2 years of lockdown. But basically I've worked mostly in sterile areas. I've done non-sterile. I did non-sterile for about 7 years, and decided that I ran into a couple of ethical issues and decided that it was time for me to open up my own facility. So with the help of my family, they're very supportive, still very supportive. We kind of all gathered and was able to obtain the cash flow that I needed to open. And, like I said, things are definitely moving in a very positive direction. I basically got into pharmacy right out of high school. And I'm really not sure why I ended up getting into pharmacy, but it's something I always loved. I love the compounding world. I've luckily have never worked in the retail world. I've always either done hospice and home care, long-term care, or hospital. In all those settings, pretty much did most of the compounding at every place that I've worked. So been able to grow that knowledge and be successful in my venture of creating a business in York, Maine.
So Cindy, you're compounding only, right?
Compounding only. Yep.
And
Yeah.
are you into a wellness at all, or any of those things?
Unfortunately, right now, I haven't really had a huge influx of people. They've come in this past summer, where everything is opened up. I had more people coming in. So as they come in and ask, I've been kind of opening up what I've been stocking, only because when I initially opened, I had, stock of vitamins and supplements and, numerous other products, and nobody came in, so I ended up throwing away, a lot of product. So I've slowly been bringing it back in as people, come in and ask, do you have this? And it's like, I don't right now, but I can order it in for you if it's something that you want. But definitely, it's an area that I do want to grow. And, as the community starts, coming in more, and realizing I'm a pharmacy and not the marijuana shop. Unfortunately, when I started building my building, the town had approved a medical marijuana shop. So everybody assumed that that's what I was. So that's also been a huge hurdle that I've had to overcome. Even the contractors that I was using, she was telling people, no, it's not. And they're telling her, oh no, it's the marijuana shop. And they're like, no, it's not. And she couldn't even convince them. And she was building the building. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but that I feel after this summer that we just had, and the opening up and people being out into the community, I think they've now realized that I'm not a dispensary, I'm an actual pharmacy. So that hurdle has been was pretty fun in the beginning.
Did you have a mentor at all through your professional career?
No, not really. I mean, other than you, Ernie, you've been wonderful.
But it's all of us seem to have somewhat of a mentor, but I'm glad you're doing well, and it sounds good. Any questions for Cindy? So we'll go on to you want Gopesh? You want to go next? I think you got your mic on. You're on
Mute.
Gopesh?
Yes.
You're
Hi, Ernie.
there you are.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Gopesh Enterprises.
Gopesh Enterprises. I graduated in India. This was not my dream to be a pharmacist. I had a different dream. But at one point you have to figure out whose dream would you like to fulfill? Your dream or your parents' dream, who took time to get you to this point? And I said, okay, let's fulfill my parents' dream. And that's how I went into a pharmacy school. As of today, I'm happy with the pharmacy field, but I still would like to pursue, if I get a chance, to do what I wanted to do, which is too late, maybe. I graduated from India, moved to Chicago in 1980. And then I started working in Cook County Hospital, which is one of the best of the best education hospital. In the 80s, they had about 3,500 beds. And I was rotated from pediatric to OBGYN and general medicine. So I had opportunity to learn all those things. And in 84, I said, I want to move ahead. So I got a call from New York that we're looking for a pharmacist. You have a license in New York. Why don't you come to New York? I came to New York. I saw some areas. I said, well, this is not the area that I would like to work. So the gentleman said, well, we have another pharmacy. Okay, let's go see tomorrow. I went the next day. I liked the area very much. I said, okay, I'll work here. I started working. And when the customers came in and started talking to me, I didn't understand anything because they were Spanish customers. So I had no knowledge of Spanish. So I learned Spanish, and I've been doing this for now 38 years. I started as a retail pharmacy. About 15 years ago, I felt like I should be doing some compounding. I started learning. In 2012, I met Ernie. Ernie guided me, and that's how we started looking into a facility. I had a room in the back of the pharmacy, and Ernie and the group helped me build a real good compounding pharmacy. And I'm very proud that I'm supported by Ernie. He's my mentor. Ken Spidel is another gentleman who taught me a lot of compounding, and I respect him very much. And I started doing some learning, and I said, wait a minute, I should do some stability studies. So that's how I did some stability studies, and they were published in IJPC. One was sterile, one was non-sterile. And that's how I got attention. We don't have like a marketer type of a thing. We have only one person. She's the director of marketing, but she does all. The rest of the business comes through the word of mouth. We do many niche things. We started with pediatrics, and now we have developed more. So we do sterile and non-sterile.
So you have 3 sites now, don't you, Gopesh?
I let go one site, but I do have 2 sites, one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan. Manhattan is on the Upper East Side, where I have a very high-end clientele, and we have a lot of celebrities coming there. And now the same thing is happening in Brooklyn. We have a lot of high-end clientele, and they come to Brooklyn also. So we're getting more known in the high-end clientele.
What about your wellness? Don't you have a wellness?
We do have
practice?
wellness, a small amount. And lately what is happening is Adderall is on drug shortage. We are telling patients to take Atensia, which is made by Metagenics, and people loved it. And they've been buying Metagenics. So a lot of patients that were on Adderall, they're weaned down to Atensia. We do a lot of general wellness also, but it depends from patient to patient. Some patients would like to see something and they only want certain particular drug. A lot of companies, they have their minimum. So we try to explain the patient, look, at the end of the day, we compare the ingredients, we show them exactly what the 2 different companies have ingredients, main ingredient is the same. The source could be a little different. And patient understands. We educate the patient. Everything starts with education. How we started our business was with education. Educating, first of all, is our staff. Our staff was educated well. Then we started educating the physicians like, look, this is what we have, this is the substitute we have. We may not have everything, because when you start a business, it's not easy to put too much funding in there. But at the end of the day, as Cindy said, you have to throw part of the things away, which is really expensive to throw away. And it hurts at the end of the day to us.
Did you also start an outreach of manufacturing type of thing, or is that something you were just trying to get involved in?
I was trying to get involved. I was not having enough help. I come from the manufacturing. I did at one point have a manufacturing facility, but I could not attend it, and we had to sell it. Now it's owned by Amneal Pharmaceuticals in Bridgewater. That was the facility that we built. And we like to build something classic. We don't want to build something like, okay, let's do it temporarily now, and then later on go to the other step where you spend more money. So the compounding facility we built with the support of Ernie, it is fantastic. Anybody who comes sees it and they do like it. And John Herr has visited the facility and he has seen our facility too. But it's a small facility. New York rents are very high. So the facility is small. And I had a real pleasure to meet John Wojcik. And he showed Johnson's compounding. So that's where we got the ideas what to do and how to do it.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, going forward with this is also enlightening the opportunity to network with folks that you hear at the at this meeting, and that's what we hope that you can accomplish. That you'll get ideas and also see that you know, each one of you have a lot of specialty areas, and you know, you become successful for different reasons, but it's all in the same world. So I think this faculty that ACA has brought will bring more networking for you, all of you folks, that can be helpful for asking questions also. So should I go on to is Andy still here? John, do you mind if Andy goes first? He has to go leave a little earlier. John Herr?
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Okay, Andy, do you want to?
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ernie. Well, so let me start from the very beginning. I was a young lad in high school, and I had an interest in pharmacy. We had a science teacher that challenged us with choosing a career path. So I chose pharmacy because it seemed pretty interesting. How does a little tablet create so much of a big difference? You know, as someone who had childhood asthma, I thought, you know, pretty remarkable. Some of the things that you can do to help kind of stave off asthma attacks and whatnot. So sparked my interest and kind of never really looked back. In high school, we had a program that put me into a local drugstore, and also we had Novartis Pharmaceuticals was backyard as well. So they did a tour there over the course of 10 weeks, and it was right after Theriault Davis won the MVP and took the Novartis migraine medication from in the Super Bowl halftime. Came back and the Broncos won the trophy that year, and he came in touring at Novartis. It was big to do. I always say he opened for me. I came in about a later. But it seemed very interesting, loved it, so many things you can do with it. Wound up picking up a job with a 3-letter chain through pharmacy school and into my first year. Then met my wife, whose uncle owned an independent pharmacy. Their pharmacy manager happened to be retiring, so I picked up a job there. They did some compounding and really enjoyed it. Like the idea of, you know, not being limited to the formulary of what was on the shelf pre-set for you. So wound up doing that. And then my college roommate happened to be John Walczyk from Johnson Compounding. And the two of us were working parallel jobs and good friends, but kind of competing against each other. So the opportunity came a few years later that we could partner up and we decided to do that. And a lot more fun working with them than against them. And also serving on the board of pharmacy, to which I met Ernie through John as well as through the board. And Ernie has been a great resource for us. We're able to bounce ideas off of him and kind of also for networking. So that's been great. And as I said, these last couple of years, trying the ownership hat has been a fun little challenge. And to Cindy's point, you have fortunately we did not open up during the pandemic, but we did expand into a third location that we put off because we were supposed to close in March of 2020 and decided to put that off until the summer of 21 instead. So interesting times. It's really challenging right now being a business owner with the current work situation where some people just don't work and others insist on working from home, which is very difficult to do in this profession. We found it, once you compounding in your garage. And that was it. But I love what I do. I'm glad that the journey that we took to get there definitely wasn't the most direct route. We definitely learned a lot throughout that journey. It's still learning. So, thank you, Ernie.
You folks are in multi-specialties. You're also in wellness. You have a very large program in the wellness area. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
So we have a full front store that we have supplements, and we have a naturopathic physician on staff who helps guide some of those decisions. So we offer our patients, they're not really clients, they're patients. We offer them an outlet to have laboratory exams and as well as consults with the physician to figure out a better journey. It's a little bit more personalized. So it's not necessarily, you're deficient in medication per se, but you're potentially deficient in some amino acid or vitamin, and that's kind of pushing you up to good health. It's a different angle. It's definitely different than the chain pharmacies. It's definitely more individualized, which is compounding as well as individualized. So I like the approach of it. It's not for everyone, of course, but it is a little bit more fun. And I think the biggest thing for us, I always tell the story of I playing old man hockey. Not as young as I used to be. Bursitis in my knee. First time that ever happened. And you can easily take ibuprofen, but it's not because of ibuprofen that developed, it's because of inflammation. So took some turmeric, some high doses of turmeric, and brought the swelling way down. Would never have believed it if it didn't actually affect me personally, but went right down. And I love that holistic approach now. So whether it's some people get all in and are a little further than I go, but elderberry in the winter, apple cider vinegar, and turmeric are some easy first, I guess, kind of first lines into old school medication and supplements that differs from what chains offer.
Now, you offer personalized the care. That's one of the most important things is communication with the patient. Is that something that you have, you provide to the patient? That you actually give them personalized attention?
Absolutely. So patients are able to schedule consults. You can come right into the pharmacy as well and ask for guidance. We have plenty of staff that be able to assist and pharmacists as well. But then we also have as I said, the naturopathic physician who we're a functional dietitian as well, who can run labs and also guide on good long-term strategies for healthcare. So it's not necessarily just taking supplements as it is a full diet approach as well.
Great, that's sounds great. And if you could, are you going to be leaving now for questions, or if someone wants to ask a question for you later on, can we respond?
I heard my little guy knocking at the door, so I'll just excuse myself for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I will be around.
All right.
Thanks,
Great. Okay, John Herr, tell about your story and how it began and up to where you are today.
Okay, man, it's a long story with all this gray hair, but I started in retail pharmacy in high school, and I was my best friend, his brother was a pharmacist, so I got the interest from him. And when I was actually still in pharmacy school, I went to St. John's, so I commuted, and I was working in New Jersey. And I had a patient call for transfers, as we all did. I was traveling from Texas, and they had see, I'm dating myself, but I think they were on like Theodore, because there was no generic for Theophylline back then, and a bunch of allergy medications, and they were on Optichrome. And that was at the time when the factory that made Optichrome had burned down, so you couldn't get it. So, I transferred 4 of the meds, and I just told the patient, oh, we're not going to be able to fill that one for you because, there's no, no availability of the Optichrome. And the patient said, well, my pharmacist in Texas gets it for me. And then me being a thick-headed German, I was like, well, how could that pharmacist get it if I can't? So I called up that pharmacy, because I was doing the transfer anyway. And he mentioned PCCA to me. So at that time I called PCCA, and Walter Hayhurst, who had founded PCCA, picked up the phone, and he basically walked me through how to make a sterile eye drop, which, oh my God, all of us that do sterile, you would cringe at how we did it back then. But, he actually sent me the stuff I needed to make the eye drop in a little packet. And, that day we had to go out in the front end and get a bottle of Visine and empty it out. And that's what we use for our sterile eye drop container. But that's when I got the bug. So I convinced the guys that I work for to look into compounding. And I went down to a meeting in Philadelphia, and I heard Bob Boudreau speak, and Robert kind of like really energized me to do compounding. So I've been compounding since actually I was in pharmacy school. Then I opened a retail pharmacy, Town and Country, in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and we started compounding in there within the retail. And I always loved retail. But then as that got bigger, I opened a facility just across the street, and I was doing compounding only over there. And at that time, I had a hormone room. Obviously it wasn't USP 800 certified, or nobody would even have heard of that. But, that far back, I had a separate room for compounds, just because I just didn't want to, we didn't want to be making something for a baby where we were making hormones. And, as that grew, Ernie has been a great mentor to me. I was looking to, move into a new facility. I had sold the retail. I probably held on to it a little too long, because I think the compounding was really just keeping the retail afloat as we got less and less on our reimbursements and things like that. Finally, I got rid of the retail and focused on compounding only in that facility. And then it just got to the point where it was just, we needed more space, and we knew USP 800 was coming. And, again, from Ernie, I went to visit Gopesh's store. I went to visit Johnson, and I, was looking at kind of lab that I wanted to build. And I built a brand new 8,000 square foot facility that's compounding only. And same thing as Cindy said, I opened up right in the beginning of COVID. But the difference was I still had Ridgewood. I just thought I was going to be out of there. So now I have the new facility that I'm building, and now I got rent in 2 places, all the utility bills and everything else in both. And one thing I was lucky that I was able to get like an SBA loan because of that. Ernie helped me with that. Ernie and Bob Folcom were very instrumental in me building this new 8,000 square foot facility. And, I'm pretty proud to say in New Jersey, which follows 800, we are totally, we're accredited ACHC for, 795, 797, and also 800. So we have a, 795 lab, an 800 non-sterile lab, and then we have a 5-room clean room suite that Bob from Gates Healthcare kind of helped us design, where we, have both positive and negative pressure, clean rooms. So that has been, a godsend for us. It was really, it's kind of like that movie, build it and they will come. We really didn't do a lot of marketing. Marketing has really changed since COVID. So our marketing has been more word of mouth, and we've worked with a branding person to rebrand ourselves. And we are, actually marketing through, social media, as opposed to the old days when people would go and just knock on the door. And, really, honestly, that just became a way of giving free lunches to doctor staff. So I think I've seen the marketing change, and doing webinars and presentations is a better way to market, in my opinion, now. And just having the proper facility, because in my belief, I know, especially on the East Coast, a lot of the pharmacies that did compounding were doing both, retail and compounding, and retail is getting just really tough, with the DIR fees and everything else. And, compounding, if you want to do it, you really have to follow the rules. I've seen New Jersey shut down a lot of facilities that weren't following, USP 800, or 797 rules. So, the regulators are really out there looking. So in my opinion, if you really want to venture into compounding, you really have to, you have to do it right. There's no more cutting corners like, when I first got into this back in, probably 83 or 82. And not that I don't think we thought we were cutting corners. We just didn't know back then, but now if you're going to do this, you really have to. I've been inspected by the FDA multiple times. It's not fun, but you get through it and you learn. Like I said, we're accredited. I also have a intrathecal home infusion company. So it's an offshoot of that. And I have my own nurses. So I'm also ACHC accredited for nursing and home infusion. And then those two kind of work well off of each other. I think you really have to, make sure you're training your staff correctly. I think Andy had mentioned, it's just hard to find people right now. So even pharmacists right now, we have one new pharmacist who just graduated Rutgers like 2 years ago that we just kind of thought, well, he's a clean slate. And then we have another pharmacist who just joined us who managed a nursing home in like 17 states. And for him, it was a change of life, being able to, be more homebound since he has a young kid. But, I have 5 full-time 5 pharmacists right now other than myself. And, as it gets bigger, you have to kind of manage the business. And I think that's something that like Ernie, and really taught me, a long time ago. We all want to do the clinical as pharmacists, but as your business grows, you also have to look at your bottom line and make sure you're managing all of that also. And, be involved in groups like this and ACP. I was a past president of when it was called IACP. So I really learned a lot about the legal and regulatory through that. And I've just trying to carry that through my career. And, I on the New Jersey Pharmacy Association Government Affairs Committee. So I think you really, my recommendation, if you're going to do compounding, because it is so regulated, to really get involved with your, your state and your national organizations, because they really need to hear from people that kind of know what they're doing. But and I've also learned when, if anybody here who, is on this call now or is going to see the recording, when you first start in compounding, you want to do everything. And, if you're not that busy, you can take the time to do everything. But then I think probably like Andy's like more into the wellness, like we do a lot of wellness and integrative medicine also. But right now we're trying to kind of like really narrow down what we're offering, not trying to do everything that everybody can. There's a lot of vet places around by me. I have, I have Wedgwood in my state. I have a lot of vet compounders. So, we're more geared in, wellness, pain management, integrative therapies. That's where we play. I know like Gopesh does a lot of dermatology. That's his niche. So I think, if you're thinking to get into compounding, yes, of course, in the beginning, you're not going to turn down everything, but try to focus on an area where you can really grow and learn, and then try to reach out to those doctors. So that was my story.
Now, John, you have, in addition to helping you with the hormonal area now, a very valuable asset.
Oh, yeah.
So you might want to give a little understanding what her role is. And I think that's a great contribution to you.
Well, the person that I ended up marrying, the person that taught me a lot about bioidentical hormones, her name was Andrea Brandvold, who was the probably the second or third consultant that PCCA ever had, and she specialized in women's health. So when COVID hit, she took a buyout and left PCCA. So really, I think a lot of our marketing and the social media marketing and everything has been really because of Andrea. And really like taking charge of that and really reaching out to the physicians. We really changed our marketing. Well, Andrea changed our marketing where we thought we wanted to market to the patients, try to market to the patient so that they would reach out to, their physician. But now we've really geared that up and say we want to be more marketing to the physician and be more collaborative. Because I think that's one thing I learned. You know, when you do compounding, you become more of a colleague. I think the other people in the faculty would agree. But you become more of a colleague with the physicians and the prescribers. I don't want to say, you know, that could be nurse practitioner, NDs, you know, PAs, but they look to you more like a colleague. So that's where Andrea was really instrumental in getting us to change our marketing efforts to reach out to them.
ACA has been, you know, tremendous in doing trainings and so forth. Now with the regulations being so not punitive, but very, very aggressive. A lot of these things now, we have to have learning areas. And what's your thoughts on as far as education and things like that from the point of view of the training? Because you do sterile and non-sterile.
Yeah, well, you have to, you really have to know what you're doing in there. Like, you know, and a lot of times the regulators don't. I mean, I just redid an SOP today on the deactivating like hazardous drugs, because you talk to Stericycle, you talk to my board in New Jersey, like what's trace waste, what's like, what goes in the black bin, what goes in the yellow bin? Do we have to throw everything in the yellow bin? Is it trace contaminants? Can you deactivate it? So you really have to kind of write your own SOPs and then just make sure that your SOP, you know, what your SOP says your facility is doing. Because over my years of experience in dealing with the FDA, if the FDA comes in, most people want to ask them, well, just tell me how to do it. I'll do it that way. And the FDA's answer is always going to be, no, that's dependent on your facility. So I learned, you know, I could write my SOP. If they really didn't like it, they might tell me to change it. And then I'm happy to change it. But, you know, just put those SOPs in place and make sure that you follow them. And then educate the doctors. I mean, I just spoke for A4M at their IV symposium on, you know, for physicians on how to incorporate sterile into their practice. And, you know, they're just doing a lot of bad practices and the FDA is like kind of looking after them. So we have to kind of let the doctors know too, that, you know, they have to follow the rules. Because I don't think the physicians or even the, you know, the PAs, nurse practitioners, a lot of times they don't think that they have to follow the rules, but they do. So I think they're starting to learn that more. And I think as pharmacists, we can educate them. So my talk when I was down there a month and a half ago was more on how to find a good compounder, you know, so they could find an Andy or a Cindy or a Gopesh, you know, when they're looking to work with somebody to help answer those things. So I think it's getting the physicians educated also is very beneficial.
So I'm going to go back to start off with Cindy again and elaborate that. Cindy, can you elaborate on what your comments on what I asked John to speak about, and that's the educational process and what's your feelings about it?
So, you know, starting a new facility and, you know, having, you know, limited staff, I still know that the training process and in setting up a whole training process, you know, hiring my first technician and, you know, making sure that they fully understand what they're doing. I did sign on with PCCA for their training program. Just you know, I just didn't have time to actually sit down and write it all out, you know, which I have to say, I don't know if anybody else has used that program, but the training videos, you know, are very informative. When my technician actually was watching them, you know, she, you know, would put it on pause, ask me, you know, okay, why are they doing this? Or why are they doing it that way? Or, you know, so I found them as a great resource to be able to help with that process. And like you said, I mean, you have to do things right. I've seen people not do things right. And I knew when I started my facility and the way I set up my facility was to follow and exceed what the regulatory requirements were. So in preparing for who knows what's coming down the pipeline. I mean, they can change their mind every other minute, there's something new that they want to, implement or change or, so I kind of geared, my facility and the training program more towards, what the future could bring. Trying to look ahead and not be caught, with not doing something properly. But the biggest thing is having your technician understand, why things are done this way. And, when I worked in a sterile environment, I was the only pharmacist that would go in and clean the clean room with them. And I have to say, you have to watch them. It's like, no, you didn't just follow the policy. And they used to kind of look at me like, well, and it's like, nope, we have, this is the way it needs to be done, and I kind of feel like when you get involved with your technicians and they're with them, I think they kind of understand this is why we're doing it this way.
Okay, that's a great elaboration on that. Now, Andy, what's your comments on this? Can you help us with how you feel about the educational process for compounding?
I feel like there's enough out there. It's just finding what interests you and finding what can be applied for it. I know in Massachusetts it's a little different because we have to, if you're in compounding, you have CE specific compounding that you have to do annually. So maybe there's a little bit more available to us because the local colleges provide that for us. But then obviously ACA has that, and a few other national organizations have some educational available. But ACA always seems to have pretty good series of educational events.
Great. Gopesh, can we get your comments? Are you I can't see you on this. Are you still available? Gopesh?
Yeah,
Can you give us your comments on the education process for compounding?
so when I started this, the technicians that I hired, they were already compounding. And they said, we know everything. I said, no. The first thing that I would like you to go to is PCCA, learn, come back, and then I'll ask you questions. And I realized wherever they worked, they were only given a paper. Here, this is the paper, you're gonna do this job, and that's it. And I said to myself, if these people are not educated, why they are doing what today, they will never be able to do anything right. So I started teaching them why you are compounding what and how you should make a log. And at the end of the day, I told them, look, there's a paper, write it on the paper, come with the calculations. If there is anything wrong, I will teach you. I started teaching them the calculations. And if everything is correct, I stand with them, I tell them, now let's start making the logs. And that's how they started making the logs. You have to teach them. We have a program, one of the facility in New Jersey, I forgot the name. They have like CE program for a year that you pay them. I think, John, you should know maybe. There's a company who has a, like, you pay the fees and you do 1 year CE, you get about 20 to 25 CEs.
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey, they are located in New Jersey.
Hmm.
I'll get the name and I'll send it to everyone.
Yeah.
So I enrolled everybody in them. We pay the fees and they do the CEs, they learn online, they have to give the test and they get the certifications, because here also you need to have your CEs to renew your technician certification. Critical Point, I think that's the name of the company.
Oh, yeah.
So Critical Point has a good program for sterile and non-sterile. And we enroll the technicians, they learn on ongoing basis, and that's how we educate them. Educating a staff is easier. Educating a provider like the nurse practitioners and everyone, it's the toughest challenge that we face. Why should you do this and why you should not do that? It's very difficult. And at the end of the day, we are only the pharmacists and they are called the doctors. So you have to listen to them and we tell them, look, everything is not right, what you tell us. We also learn science, you also learn medicine, but taking care of a patient is more important than what you demand from us. I think John goes through the same process like that. Am I right, John?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have to change BUDs and they're used to, they're used to being good for 6 months. And now you tell them it's only 30 days. I'm like,
30 days
how
or
can that be?
it is refrigerated, they don't like it.
Yeah.
But take it off, I mean, that's what it is. The formulation is same. We must label what is new right now, even though the formulation is same. And they have to take 3 days refrigerated, 45 days frozen.
So this is my first time being moderator for ACA, and I'm looking to hopefully get some comments, good or bad, that what we can do better. Because if ACA will allow me, I'd like to continue. But we're always looking for improvements on what we can do better. And now the one thing that I am convinced of is the more you folks get to know each other and see each other and understand what each other does, there is always a learning curve from everyone. There's no such thing as any of us knowing everything. And through the mechanism of education, whatever resources you use, I think it's very important that those educational processes that are provided by organizations like ACA and our PCCA or whatever, I think they all deliver something different that will enhance the protection of doing things right and not just getting a piece of paper and a CE credit. Because that's now with the boards, if you're mailing out and sending out, you have to understand if you send out to Massachusetts, you better be prepared to do everything that Massachusetts requires. And the same thing in California, New Jersey, New York, everyone has their own idiosyncrasies in the different states. So again, it's not only learning the curve of what USP states, and fortunately we don't have to respond to USP until November 2023 for the new components, because they're pretty more restrictive on the beyond use states. So there'll be a lot of learning curves that we're going to have to adapt to. But all of you, I will tell you that I appreciate all this time and comments, and I hope Linda, you were happy with these great guys, and they came forward that the one thing is they know each other, they got to know each other, and I see more of that happening on the new people that we have for the future. Any other questions? Does anybody that's on the meeting on Zoom that wants to ask a question? I will convey it to the panel here. So even if you don't have a question now and you think of something later, please send it to me or send it to Linda, and I'd look forward to speaking with you folks in the next time. And thank all the panel for taking the time, and Linda for you arranging this.
Thank y'all for attending. Thank you, panelists. We appreciate you giving your time to be a panelist today. So Thanks, everybody, for attending, and it will be on the website probably tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to listen to it. Again. You want to listen again.
Yeah, you did a great job, all of you. Wonderful job.
All right. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you
Take
all.
care.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.